Should you pay your mortgage off early in Japan? There's a lot of information online, but most of it's based on conditions in the US or the UK or Europe, and Japan is different. So I get this question all the time. People ask me by email, they ask on the forum, in my coaching sessions, and even in person. And the answer depends on what you want, but there's a lot of factors you should keep in mind before making that decision. There are some good reasons to pay your mortgage early. Probably the most important one is how you feel about debt. Some people are very uncomfortable being in debt, and even something like a mortgage is something that they don't want hanging over them. They'd much rather get rid of it as soon as possible, and that's fine. Personal finance is personal, and the most important thing you can do is make sure that you are not stressed and you can sleep easy at night. Another reason you might want to pay your mortgage off early is if you think interest rates will go up in the future and you'll end up having to pay more, and so you'd rather get rid of that possibility and pay off the mortgage early or completely even. Similar to that is wanting to get rid of your mortgage payment so that your monthly expenses go down. Possibly if you're nearing retirement, you don't want to be paying your mortgage once you don't have an income, so getting rid of the mortgage might be a priority in that case. One nice thing about Japan is that most mortgages don't have fees for making early repayments. It's very easy to make extra payments or even pay off the whole thing, and there's generally not a fee for that service. However, there are quite a few reasons why you might want to keep your mortgage and not pay it off early. The most important one for most people is the mortgage tax deduction. So if you have a mortgage, you can get a tax deduction based on the size of the outstanding loan, and currently that deduction you can get for the first 13 years that you have the mortgage. Previously it was 10 years, previously it was 1% of the outstanding loan, and now it's 0.7% of the outstanding loan, provided you reach certain qualifications like the type of building, how old the building is, how earthquake resistant it is, and so on. But most people can get this tax break, and it's a pretty considerable tax break. For most people, it makes a huge difference to their income taxes. So as long as you're receiving this, it doesn't make much sense to reduce the amount of outstanding loan, because that's also going to reduce the amount of the tax deduction that you're getting. Another reason not to overpay the mortgage is that most mortgages in Japan come with life insurance, and sometimes with serious illness insurance as well, so that in the unfortunate event of you dying or becoming seriously ill, the insurance would pay off the mortgage. Now, if you've made extra payments and reduced the amount of your mortgage, or you've paid it off entirely, then this benefit would be wasted, and the money that you put into the mortgage would also be wasted, and your family would not have access to that money. Another reason not to pay off your mortgage early is opportunity cost. So what else could you do with that money? One option would be to invest it. So if you are borrowing money at 0.5% or 1%, which is kind of normal for mortgages in Japan, and you're investing it in the stock market and getting on average 8% a year, that's a really good deal for you. You're borrowing money cheaply and you're investing it for a much larger return. So as long as you're comfortable investing, this might be a good idea. Instead of paying the mortgage off, you can keep the mortgage and invest the money yourself. Now, possibly most importantly, for me at least, is optionality. So if you make extra payments on your mortgage, if you pay your mortgage off early, that money's gone. You can't then change your mind and get it out again. So for example, let's say you made some extra payments at the moment, and then later on maybe you lose your job and you're having trouble paying your mortgage. The bank is not going to give you credit for the money that you put in now. So rather than making early repayments. You might want to keep that money as an emergency fund, maybe invest it in a NISA account, and then later on, if you need it, then you'll be able to use that money for paying the mortgage if you want to, dealing with an emergency if you have one, or even just having it there if you need it. If you have a variable rate mortgage, which is the most common type of mortgage in Japan, you might be worried about future interest rates. But one nice thing in Japan is that there are quite a few protections built into the system. For example, even if interest rates go up very quickly, which is quite unlikely in Japan, your monthly payments will not go up as quickly. The monthly payments are capped and they can only go up every so often, and they can only go up by a certain amount, so that you're not going to be faced suddenly with a huge mortgage payment out of the blue. What we did, so about 10 years ago, we bought a second-hand mansion in Sendai, and we borrowed 110% of the purchase price. So we didn't have to put down a deposit, and we were able to borrow more than the cost of the mansion, and that extra 10% was used to pay fees and transaction costs. We got a 30-year mortgage at a variable rate of 0.5%. And that rate has not changed over the life of the loan. Even at the moment, with the inflationary environment that we're in, the rate on our mortgage has not gone up. Now, the mansion that we bought was just over 25 years old, and I wasn't able to get a certificate of structural integrity. So we didn't qualify for the mortgage tax deduction. Because of that, because I really don't like debt personally, for the first couple of years we did make extra payments on the mortgage. So at the end of the year, when I got my bonus, I would do a lump sum into the mortgage for the first couple of years. After the first couple of years, though, I kind of sat down and thought about it, ran the numbers, and realized that actually it didn't make much sense for us to put extra money into the mortgage. So we stopped making extra payments, and instead we put all our extra money into our investments. And I think that is probably a better option for us. But how about you? What are you doing with your mortgage? If you don't have one yet, do you have any questions about the process or how it works here in Japan? Please stick them in the comments if that's the case. And please tell us what you're doing if you have a mortgage. Are you paying it off early? What's your reasoning for doing that? And if you found this video useful, please do subscribe to the channel because it helps us reach as many people as possible.